That would have to be pursued under the court. But I think that's what you're going to have to do to get this off dead center, because right now it really looks like talking points. Ken, do you have any idea?
I actually don't know the full scope of what the select committee can do in terms of witnesses, but I'd like to echo what Russ just said. If you can imagine having a whole bunch of different organizations that have a whole bunch of projects in their inbox to deal with, and the Benghazi investigation is just one of those items. The select committee would be targeted. It would have no other mission other than to focus on full-time the investigation of what happened at Benghazi. And I would like to follow up also, there have been some questions raised about the House leadership, that there may be an effort, but the reason for covering and keeping this select committee from going forward is because there is some negative information about the House leadership. Now, we don't know if that's true, but those questions are out there, and we need to address them, and I think that the House leadership should address them, and I think, honestly, the select committee should be addressing them.
And Michael, to your point, your question I think also had to do with what can we do?
Yes.
I think the general call to arms can be effected through telephones, through emails. Call Pete's office, call other representatives, call your Senate reps. Keep the pressure on Washington and let them know that this is important to you. Any other?
Call your friends and family and tell them to call.
Yeah.
At the end of the deal tonight, we'll give you all the contact info for doing that. But that's exactly right. That's what we can do if each of you as an employer tonight decides that that's what you want your employee to do. You just need to let them know. Sir.
Bruce Melbert, Saxon, Texas. I went to Congressman Sessions' town hall in April, and I've been very upset about many of the things that are occurring in our country, but I was really upset about Benghazi and nothing been done. And I asked Mr. Sessions, I said, Congressman Wolf is trying to get this bill, up for a House vote. 60% of the Republican Party supports this select committee. Your own Republican colleagues from North Texas support it, and yet you won't even let it come to a vote. And he gave 3 reasons, some of them you mentioned. Basically, he said, I don't know, it's not going to happen, first of all, he said. He said, I don't think we have the money, I don't think we have the room, and I think the news media would only focus on that particular thing and not about all these other things. And, I've called his office, written him letters, most of the time he doesn't respond. I think we're past the point of trying to, cajole this man into doing, what's right. We have 4 dead Americans and nothing's been done, and I fear nothing ever will be done. And I think it's time, personally, that Pete Sessions, as an employer, we say, it's been a nice ride, but it's time for you to go. He told me to check back with him, and I'm checking back. Mr. Sessions, what have you done about Benghazi?
First of all, I'd like to say thank you for putting together the meeting with the structure and focus. It's the best meeting I've attended. Second, simple question to you, with the hard work and effort you make, why don't you consider running against Sessions? I think you get my support.
I think that there is a high likelihood that Pete will have at least one or more people who will challenge him in the primary.
I hope you get the thought. I've heard, speaking with Ken and others, I've heard the talk that there's potential that Sessions could be complicit with the provisioning of arms to Al-Qaeda in Syria. But has he ever come out and given a flat denial to that topic? I'm just curious.
Ken, you heard any flat denial?
I have not heard flat denials. I don't think I've heard you do it.
Has that question been posed to him?
I am unaware of it.
Yes.
It has.
Last night, we had called it a sport meeting last night with Pete, and I posed the question directly that there have been suggestions that leadership can't respond to Benghazi because there may have been issues associated with the CIA annex in Benghazi, and there was no direct response to that suggestion.
Well, that's interesting. I learned something. That's why all the employers should get together at the board meeting and talk about things. Yes, Alan?
Yeah, I'm Alan Clark. I want to ask, I've heard a lot about this Darrell Issa, the congressman from California. He was onto this issue. Is that still happening? Does anybody know? And is Pete trying to keep that from happening? That seemed like the best thing that was going on.
Well, Darrell is the head of one of these 5 committees. Right.
Is that what he
That's what he's head of, and he is continuing to pursue it, but he has got a whole lot of other things he's having to pursue too. Now, he likes pursuing it,
Yeah.
but the fact of the matter is, he and his staff are now in the middle of a ton of investigations, and so this can only come up every so often.
It's a question of priorities.
Right.
Well, is anyone aware that Pete is trying to dissuade that committee from doing its work?
No, I think Pete is delighted to have them do the work because they're not really getting anywhere.
Okay.
I don't mean it quite that way, but that's kind of the result. Sorry. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Regina, and one of the things...
And that microphone is very good.
Pete is my congressman, and I have traveled with him over the years many times that he doesn't stand up for things. But for this particular issue, what we did was we made a lot of signs, and we actually were out on the Park Lane overpass before all this happened. We got a lot of beeps, and this was just one of the signs we made. And it was, Pete Sessions, stop blocking Benghazi.
At the town hall, you come up.
Well, we made 8 signs. We made 8 signs, and they're all vinyl signs. We had lots of beeps because traffic had kind of almost come to a stop on Central. But that was just one of them. When did you show this sign? We got it. We were on Park Lane right before this event here. We were out there at 6 o'clock. Nobody came, we were out there for 30 minutes. But we have 9 signs. I have another one back there that says liars. We have 9. So there's a cheap sign.
Point out one thing.
Yes.
Our three lowercase letters are just superb.
Really?
Yes.
$20.
You can read.
It was banners on the cheap or something like that, and so, good deal. Okay, thanks.
So to Michael's question of what can we do, be creative. This is great.
Want this sign, and if you use it, good, perfect. There you go. All right. I'll even give away one more sign, if anyone wants it. FedEx, that's the sign. Okay, that's what
Another question?
Good job, Regina.
In keeping with the idea that this is an employee review, Mr. Sessions, I too was at the Saxon meeting in April and heard the same thing. And I'd like to review what kind of progress we've made since then, which is basically nothing. 5 committees have been meeting since April. We don't know any more than we knew then, except maybe that at least several members of the administration have lied to us. So we have a saying in business, if you keep doing what you've always done, you keep getting what you always got. Mr. Sessions, it's time to do something different. I want to know, when are we going to have a select committee?
Good evening, Mr. Pete Sessions. Since I'm considered your employee and you're my employer, I have a comment. You took an oath. Vice versa. You're the employer. should be the employee. First of all, you took an oath to our Constitution to defend it against all enemies, foreign and domestic. By your not moving to a select committee, you are helping to benefit the foreign enemies even within inside our country. Are you going to raise the white flag and just claim that you can't win and not even try? What if George Washington did that? Would we have a free nation today? Would we even have a constitution? You need to think about those things. You're not upholding your duties and what the people sent you as partly to do. And I forgot one more comment. Our men and women who serve bravely in our military defend our freedoms daily. And their code is, we don't leave anybody behind.
Charles Lingerfeld, since the late 1990s, Pete, I've been able to call your office and get an answer and a response back from you or Flo quite often. That happened through 2000, 2001, 2002, 2003, 4, and 5. Since then, I get the cold shoulder. But I want to remind you that when ICE comes around, we who are independent enough in our thinking have enough heat about us that we can melt ice. So don't come at me with a frozen shoulder or a frozen look. A month ago or so, we had a meeting at the IHOP, and I allowed myself to become a part of this committee with concern to Benghazi because of the deep convictions that I hold. And I have since called your Washington office 4 times, and I can't get no satisfaction. I have called the Dallas office 4 times. I can't get no satisfaction there either. Today, Flo did call me and let me know that she had referred my name and number to your person, Matt, who is in charge of your scheduling. And he will call me tomorrow at 9 a.m. And once I talk with Matt, I'm still going to push for this meeting of 8 to 10 of us to come and talk with you about Benghazi and the issues. We will get to it. Now, my question is, when the employer calls the meeting with the employee, and the employee doesn't show, what do? You fire him.
All right, I think we have discussed Benghazi, and Benghazi is here tonight as a placeholder for the IRS, for the NSA issues, for the whole non-enforcement by the president at his discretion of any immigration laws that he doesn't want to do, by the non-enforcement of the president of his own signature Obamacare provision, provisions. You have a monarch who now believes that he can pick and choose and is really beginning to just regard the Congress as kind of unimportant. Now, I will tell you why that's particularly dangerous. Anybody here know what the Enabling Act of 1933 was? There you go. We got somebody back there, probably a political science major. My condolences, I was too. The Enabling Act of 1933 was something that the Reichstag did in Germany, and they agreed that for a certain period of time, 3 years or 4 years, depending on when you start the calendar, they would defer to Hitler and allow him to virtually rule as a monarch. And they did that because things were in so much trouble. Interesting thing. By the time the Enabling Act expired and they were ready to step up then and act as a Congress, everyone had gotten so used to the fact that they did nothing that Hitler just bypassed them and ignored them. Never did take them seriously again. And that is the danger that we are now running today in this country with the Congress. All right, let's move on. Tim Mendelson's going to talk a little bit for us about Obamacare. And maybe I could even, now let's see, Ken, you want me to skip your Benghazi stuff?
Yeah.
Right? Where do you want to start?
Let's start with that.
Start with that, okay. There's your little deal.
All right, everybody. Those of you that have been paying attention to this battle over Obamacare, how many of y'all know which of these groups here that are listed are actively working to stop Obamacare? All of them are. Every one of these three. FreedomWorks, Collective Growth, Heritage Action for America, they are not alone, but they're all working in that direction. Which of these elected officials are actively working to stop Obamacare? Unfortunately, we have 3 people that are talking about Obamacare. We have 1 that's actually doing something. I want to talk a little bit about background, and I think a lot of you guys are familiar with Obamacare. So if I'm reviewing, I apologize, but I know that not everybody is, and I think it's important we all know this stuff. The question is Obamacare the end goal? Did they put Obamacare in place so that they could have Obamacare? No. That's correct. And in my opinion at least, is that Obamacare is not the end goal, and I'm going to show you why I believe that. And some of y'all may also believe that. And we're going to get to that. So you're skipping ahead. Some of y'all may be familiar with these guys. Paul Krugman, he is a very well-known writer and speaker on the left. He's what they call a thinker, or what passes for a thinker on the left. The guy at the bottom is our favorite Democrat, Barney Frank. And so let's just see what they had to say about healthcare policy in recent years. This is what Krugman says. Politically, single payer is hard to do in one step. You have to convince people to completely give up the insurance policy they have. Whereas something that lets people keep the insurance they have, that's not fair, but then offers the option of a public plan, it evolves into single payer, which you can do it politically. That's Paul Krugman in 2009, before the passage of Obamacare. Barney Frank, saying we will do nothing until we get single payer is a sure way never to get single payer. So what's he saying there is, the way to get single payer is to go for something else that will take you to single payer. And then this is Ezra Klein in July 2008. Again, this is before the election of Obama, but he was talking about how do you get to single payer healthcare. He says at some point you have to win. Not everything, but you have to put winning first. So what does putting winning first mean? Right? Does it mean putting it above honesty? Does it mean putting it above full disclosure? Maybe it does. Yes, I would like to sign the insurance companies out of existence with my pen. It would be sweet, but it has never happened in the history of this country that we've sent a multi-billion-dollar industry employing tens of thousands of people in every district in America out in one shot. I think I can lay this out for them in ways that they're not necessarily allowed to. He's talking about politicians and people in the nonprofit organizations. I think I can lay this out for them in ways they're not necessarily allowed to, that they have a sneaky strategy to the point of which is to put in place something that over time the natural incentives within its own market is to move to single payer. So, amen to that. So what do we have here? We have a number of voices from the left talking about a two-step program, that we get to single payer as a two-step process. Here's a guy that you might also be familiar with. What did Mr. Barack Obama, as a candidate, this is before he's president, he says, I don't think we're going to be able to eliminate employer coverage immediately. There's going to be potentially some transition process. Canada did not start off with a single payer system immediately. They had a similar transition step. And this was where he was advocating for a transition step to single payer. So these guys have told us what they will for. And they want to get to single payer. That's the ultimate goal. Obamacare is not the ultimate. And again, now in my opinion, I've given you the quotes. Based on these quotes, my opinion is single payer is the goal. Obamacare is the road that gets us to single payer if it is allowed to move forward. This is my point of view, and I think that those quotes at least back that up. I'm sure there are quotes that they would deny that.